I'm making this video as a follow-up to a comment I received here on total timing, because I thought about it, and I'll bet good money that most classic Mopars I see at shows, at the track, and people's driveways are running with the timing set completely wrong. Not a little, wrong. And the owners have no idea because, well, it starts, it runs, it goes down the street, but the wrong timing is actually robbing you of power, fuel economy, and it can damage your engine over time. Today, we're fixing that. We're going to walk through the whole thing, from the parts to the terms to the actual setting of the right engine timing right here. So first, I'm going to go over, this is a timing light. This is your diagnostic tool to do this job. The next thing we're going to go over is distributor. I have a spare here. This is the command center for all your timing in the car. Literally, this tells it to do everything. Now, inside the distributor, it's a little hard to see on this one. On Chryslers, they're buried, but there's weights down on the bottom that centripetally spread out as the distributor goes faster. On the side here is a vacuum advance canister. It goes inside. Of course, here on the screen, I'll show you some timing marks. And you don't need to tear anything apart when you are doing setting timing. You need a timing light. If you don't have one, go get one. I mean, it's like $30. And it tells you the truth about your engine. Here's where we're going to, these are the general terms we're going to need to be able to set our timing in our car. First, advanced. This means the spark fires earlier than top dead center, which is 0 on cylinder number 1. It gives it more time to burn. It gives it more power. Retarded. This is where its spark fires later. Now, it doesn't have to be after top dead center. It just has to be less than optimal for your engine. Before top dead center is where most of our timing is going to be set, and it's before the number 1 piston gets to the top dead center. Now, we're going to go over also why factory specs are very conservative, and we're going to go over why street performance and versus those factory specs, and why you shouldn't just look at that sticker that's under the hood. Here's the thing. Factory timing specs from the 60s and 70s were originally set to make less wear on the engine and make it run on almost any gas that you could find to put in the car for the owner. Around 1970, though, this changed a little bit. It was used to actually help with compliance with emissions. And that's not your life. Your car deserves better. All right, we're going to go through this step by step. Also, before you start doing any type of timing, if you don't have an internal tach in your car, you need to hook up an external tachometer to the car where you put it either reads it off of spark plug number 1, or as my style does, it reads it off the negative of the coil. The second thing you do after hooking up the tachometer is then clean your timing marks. Use some carburetor cleaner and get in there and actually wipe it down like I'm doing here. Also, on all Mopars that I know of, the distributor bolt is a 1/2 inch. Warm up the engine operating temperature. Disconnect and plug the vacuum advance line. This is a thing that most guys skip. Hook up your timing light with the clamp on number 1 spark plug wire with the arrow facing the right way toward the spark plug. Loosen the distributor clamp. There's a special tool I'm showing here that you can use on any distributor. Start the engine and point the light to the marks. Now, you rotate the distributor to hit the marks. On a Chrysler, it's always counterclockwise to advance the engine. No matter if it's an LA or an R or an RB, you go counterclockwise to advance. All right, so rotate the distributor to hit a spec on a non-modified engine running on a regular Chrysler distributor. On a stock engine, you'd want to be anywhere from 8 to 10 degrees before top dead center as your starting mark, and then lock down the distributor and then recheck to make sure nothing moved. I cannot stress this enough. You have to disconnect that vacuum advance before setting your base timing. If you don't, your reading will be wrong, period. That's the mistake I've seen over and over again. Now we're going to go over all-in timing. This is also called total timing. This is the base plus all centrifuge advance fully in. So let us talk about a couple caveats when it comes to total timing, because this is most advanced. The engine will be under load. Now there's a few things you need to be aware of. Total timing has a range because there are many factors that can affect pinging in your engine, which is pre-detonation, which you do not want. So basically, when you do total timing, you want to get it before it starts pinging. So if it starts pinging, you bring it back. Now, this is due to a bunch of factors. One of the factors is the compression ratio of the engine, the weight of the car, your altitude, the type of gas you can run, the type of spark plugs you have, how hot your area is, and how much overlap your cam has. These are all factors that will really determine how much total timing you can put in your car, and there is a lot of trial and error. Why it matters more than base timing than for actual performance. This is how we check it. We rev the engine to 3,000 RPM, the vacuum advance still disconnected, and you watch where the marks land. Now, your target range for a LA engine is 32 to 36 degrees before top dead center, all in. On an R or RB, you want to be probably 34 to 38 degrees, all in. MSD and aftermarket distributors are an option. They're a little different. Your base timing is just the starting point. This is where your engine actually runs at cruise, at part throttle, under load. That determines the total timing. If your advance curve is wrong, your car is going to feel like it is one hand tied behind its back no matter what you do to it. Of course, there are things to actually help limit your total advance, and FBO sells one, and I actually have it in my Charger. I have a picture of it here. It's a whole little kit for a Chrysler distributor. It's actually probably one of the best things you could ever do to any Chrysler car. I'm just endorsing it. I'm not being paid. It is a product I use and I truly believe in. Now, vacuum advance. This is something that is befuddling to people. This is what it actually does. It adds timing under light throttle and cruise. It adds fuel economy and makes the engine run less hot. It cuts out completely when you go wide open throttle. You have no vacuum advance at wide open throttle. And it is not a performance mod. It is for fuel economy and drivability. Now, there's two types of vacuum advance. The pre-65 Chrysler one, which is manifold vacuum. Now, this port is below the throttle plate. The vacuum is at idle and part throttle. Now, this is all before 1965, and what it was done is to make the car run smoother at idle, go up from the base timing. The problem that can arise from this is that you can have pinging if the advanced canister is too aggressive at idle, where it's like pulling more degrees than the car should actually handle at idle. Now, ported vacuum, this is all 65 and later uncarbureted cars. Port is above the throttle plate. You have zero vacuum at idle, and it builds as the throttle opens and then disappears at wide open throttle because you have no vacuum at wide open throttle. It is this basically a standard recommendation for all street-driven vehicles. You have cleaner idle timing, advance kicks in as you cruise, less ping risk, easier to tune that base timing around. Also, it will not affect any of the performance drivability of your car. So my take on this, street car, you go ported. Honestly, if you're driving the car anywhere, you should do this just to help with fuel economy. Your idle timing stays where it is. The advance works when you actually need it on the road, and you don't have to fight the vacuum signal when you're trying to tune the carb. But now, if you have an original pre-65 Mopar, or actually most American cars, the manifold vacuum actually helps it idle better and gives it a cleaner running profile at idle because it's giving it more advanced, and the engine was designed for this. Now, if you have that, test it. Watch for pinging. That's your feedback right there. So here's the recipe. Set base timing with vacuum disconnected. Now, you want to check the total timing when the weights are fully out on your distributor. And this usually happens at cruise RPM between 3,000 and 3,500 RPM. Run a ported vacuum on a street car, definitely. That's it. Now, I want to hear from you. What is your Mopar set at right now? Drop your timing numbers in the comment. I want to see how many you're running it right. And if you know any Mopar guys that have never touched his distributor in 30 years, please share this video to him. You might save his engine. And if you have something cool to drive and something fun, take it out. You make someone's day. And I'll see you in the next one.